I need a lesson. Let me see it in my dream tonight. Show me how to open up and uncover this light.
I was taking this little one on a walk. I was thinking about again what dreams are. What are dreams? What are dreams? What are dreams? And I was like, it's when your subconscious and your higher self make out. And like the result of that is this world of signs and symbols that are disseminated not by the logical brain. So it is nice if you can have recall and you work with them, but I think the medicine's already there. Like we're already taking the medicine, and if we decide to interact with our dreams, they become even more alive and we get an even more potent version of that medicine, but they're always sort of like doing their thing, and they're merging us with the part of ourselves that's in time and then the part of ourselves that's like timeless, our soul. And that's like literally one of my favorite human experiences,
Mm.
the dream time.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. That's brilliant. Yeah, I I had like the child version going in my head where I was just like imagining what you were saying, but like like the symbols that we see are like the sock puppets of the higher self, you know, like they have certain things that they can play with, but they're just doing the sock puppets. But I really like this idea like of, I don't know, making love or like making out or like being, because like we're a permeable membrane, aren't we? Like we're osmosing with the dream world or with the waking world, and it all overlays and like breathes into one another, doesn't it? And sometimes it's a bit more to the left or a bit more to the right, you know, a bit more dreamy or a bit more real, but it is just like the breath.
Yeah. And another, like the other tangent that's really the most important to me is so many people don't view themselves as creatives anymore, or create, like they don't think they're creative. They think creativity is for like artists and painters and all the like stereotypical ways we've been told we're creative. But when I think about like the sheer genius or creativity of my dreams, and it's not that my dreams are so like involved, but just like the idea that I am populating this world and then going inside of it and looking around and experiencing it is just like, you know what I just thought of? Do you think that Spirit wanted us to make this dream course because we both had gaps?
The lucky gap.
Why do you think animals dream?
Oh, I love seeing animals dreaming. Well, it reminds me of this thing that I heard a therapist say once, which is like the more like intelligent someone is, the more complex their problems are going to be.
Because I think, I mean, obviously it's nice to be able to communicate with language, but the language of the soul, like you said, is it's symbols and it's music, and it's more of the non-linear things, which we have a really hard time with because we've been so indoctrinated to use our head. But we know because you directed me to the CIA website, and it was just really fun to like know that they've paid people enormous amounts of money to try to demystify what's happening here. And it's all the things that we are talking about that, you know, some communities are like, oh, that's woo woo, that's not true. But they've spent a lot of time and money to decode what's happening. Why is it important to interact with your dreams?
I think I think that getting to know kind of what your dreams are about, but really like who you are when you're dreaming, is a daily opportunity to get to know who you really are. And I think that we have a kind of a primary and a secondary, and maybe even more than that, personalities, or you could say the soul personality and the learned personality. And you know, life happens and you learn that acting in certain ways gets you certain things, gets you love or whatever, but underneath that is the original soul, true personality. And through therapy you can dig that out, but it's also there every single night. Your dreamer might be showing you the painful things, or you know, who it's pretending to be, or where there's inconsistencies or blocks, but they are just you, they are just the original person. So I think on that level it's a great opportunity. And I think like you said about creativity, you know, it's a place to be free and play, and that is so important for the world right now, isn't it? We need the imagination piece. We need to dream a future that's like outside of the bounds of what we've been given, because the bounds of what we've been given are they're built from trauma and they're built from fear, and we need to relearn how to dream wider, because we can dream as wide as we want. We can dream into infinity, and that's every single person's birthright.
I love that. And I think working with the dream makes tough stuff more palatable. Like when I share with my dad, who for instance works in like a very traditional psychological fashion with his clients, he's a psychologist. I tell him I have had like a nightmare, and he's like, oh no, like, oh my goodness. And for me, I definitely have, I sometimes wake up and I'm like, whoa, that was a lot, but I just feel like it's so much information, just like the way people can interact with kind of a scarier movie, or like they, like when people are going into the cave in a movie, they're like, whatever, but they're still with them. It's like staying with your dream in that way to look for what's really happening.
Yeah, I mean, my dreams have always been quite crazy, to be honest, and quite, yeah, just quite mad. But I think it's a bit like, you know, when you're learning intuitive skills, some people, you'll always have one that you're most open to. And for some people, that's the visual, that's visions. For some people, it's hearing. For some people, it's like just knowing or feeling in the body. And I don't know, it's probably societal. Like we all want the visions one, right? And it can be really like disheartening when you don't have that, or you do a meditation and you don't get, like, you don't see a ghost or something. But I think that sometimes learning through what feels mundane is so much more powerful, because you really have to sit with what is, and you don't get carried away with the fantasy of like, and then I was riding a wolf, so I must be great. And like, actually that really like skips over the truth. And I think that you know, the word decoding is like totally
necessarily dreaming, but I'll use my tape recorder, right? And I'll record my dreams at night, and just I'll have my phone on airplane, I'll have it on low so it doesn't like totally take me out, like the screen low, so it's not super bright. I'll say my dreams, which is my favorite thing to listen to myself back when I'm like, it sounds like I'm like drunk, and then I just like put it down and go back to sleep. But that next morning I'll write it out in my dream journal, and then usually at the end of the month I'll do this like crazy what's it called, where you have like a thing in the middle with all these like tangents of like symbols. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I'll do like that sort of diagram, and I'll start to see like patterns around what I'm moving through, and places I go to often when I'm feeling this certain feeling. So I really get to know myself, which, you know, if you want to become lucid in the dream, I think that's really a way to do it, is to start to realize like, oh, I always go back to elevators and it's super scary. Next time I go back, I'm going to press a button and I'm going to open up and I'm going to be at a bubble party, or like I'm going to like shift this thing. And the only way that I was really able to chart these patterns, like that's how we become conscious in life, as we start to realize, oh my God, I'm dating the same person over and over again, but he's in a different body. Like this, that's my pattern. And in the dream time, you can often have patterns too. And the way that I've discovered them is just pen and paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. There's so many great things you said there. I think the integration phase is so important. And I think this is something coming up with loads of spiritual work. And it's all spiritual work, right? Like everything, like making a cup of tea is spiritual work. But I think as I guess it's getting more popular, obviously maybe this is just human experience, but when I'm working in other realms, you know, when I'm doing Reiki and stuff like that, it's very dreamlike. It's all symbols. You know, if I'm looking at the body from an energy work point of view, it's a set of basically symbols or colors or textures or shapes, and the guides come through with that same similar dreamlike information. And so maybe that's just how they talk to people in matter who care about symbols, or maybe that is what life is beyond the body, you know. Maybe it is all just kind of like telepathic shapes and stuff like that, who knows. But
that's
I
how,
don't know.
you know, the dream, whenever more slow, languid, my favorite word right now is fecundity, which just means fertility, like a more like, I think if we slow down, just magical things happen. We strengthen our connection to things that can only happen in that slower space. Our brain waves, there's something magical that happens. I just dream of a world where I dream of a world where people are interacting with their dreams, because I think that's a world that's awakening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's big.